Hello everyone. Today we're in Christchurch, just on the east side of Bournemouth. And behind me, just over there, is the famous Christchurch Priory. Apparently it's the longest parish church in the country. Wow, there you go. So we're going to be doing our videos from here today. It's now time to have a chat about your assignment. Dun, dun, dun. Assignment! No, not an assignment. So, the assignment. It's a really open brief. Okay, it's quite simple. Oh, by the way, this is another one of those videos where you can look at the hard copy, or soft copy rather, in another window on another device and read it while I'm talking. Or you can just watch me on the video and be passive about it and just look at the notes as I put them up on screen. The brief itself is just a very simple sentence. Let's see. Create a business feasibility proposal for your own entrepreneurial idea. You don't get a simpler assignment brief than that. But there's more to it, of course. The key thing is that I want you to keep it in the digital computing, IT arena, the business areas that you choose, the products or services that you develop must be obviously in keeping with the course. And that's important because my role is to use this assignment and the whole delivery plan to weave together those technical units you do and put them into some sort of business context. And that's really important for you when you go out into work, and graduates tell me that they find the business knowledge they learn with their technical units really useful when they get into that environment. It's split into two parts. Now this gives you a formal opportunity to get some feed forward. In the middle of the first semester you'll submit a short outline of your concept and the business model canvas for your idea, and then within a couple of 3 weeks you'll get some feedback on that. But remember, this is in addition to you meeting those people coming in to talk to you to help you out that I've got planned at each stage through the teaching scheme. Now that first part is only 10%. There's only 300 words of writing and then your one-page A4 business model canvas, carefully thought through. This isn't necessarily any easier than any other part. It's important that those sections of the business model canvas connect together in that first submission and that the writing makes sense with that business model canvas. And you'll get help to help you do that before it's due to be handed in. Notice after that short brief just on the first page here that I outline the key sections you need to include in that. Now, although I'll always call it a business plan just because that's the easiest thing to do, in reality we probably should call it a business feasibility study. The point being that your business plans, as I outline in another video, won't necessarily be suitable directly to put into a commercial environment. Why? Well, we need you to reference the research sources to demonstrate that you've used appropriate resources, and that so that we can check that you've drawn the right information from them, and it has an academic side to it. Never forget that. Okay, I'll come back to referencing a bit later on. So although this looks quite regimented in the structure, I've done it very deliberately. When I first started doing this assignment in the first year, I let people choose their own structure for the business plan. Well, what it's actually realised very quickly was that people were wasting a lot of the word limit they had on talking about things which weren't directly relevant to the intended learning outcomes for the unit and didn't help you tell that story in a really succinct and direct way. Okay, there's no room for waffle in this. This is about finding out what's really important and laying that out so that it makes sense as a story. So a business feasibility study, because it has an academic element to it, you'll be referencing your sources as you go through in key sections like marketing, but still having the core things that all business plans need, and the structure helps you to do that, to bring them out, but also to keep you focused and to help me pace your development of the business plan over the semester. So looking at part 2 of the assignment, you'll notice that's obviously the 90%, the bigger part. And that's what you'll hand in at the end. It'll have all those sections in it. It'll have a references section, a business model canvas, your Excel spreadsheet, and the submission of it, the details of which we'll deal with the admin in the class. But this is where you're pulling it all together, and don't leave it till the end. Again, the teaching scheme is designed so that you gradually pace yourself through that assignment by doing a little bit often and regular each week. It's a real key to the whole thing, and students have told me this again and again and again. Actually, it's worth mentioning that with references, use something like EndNote, and there's other options available for referencing, because if you don't note references down, as you find very important sources, it is a real pain to go back and find the full reference afterwards, going through your browser history, trying to find a paper or something like it again online. Make a note of key references as you find them, even if it's only a bookmark in a folder where you can clearly go back and look at them again. But I would recommend using things like EndNote, because you can export the whole of your references in one shot in the right format, and there's a template for Bournemouth University, making the whole thing a lot easier. Let's look at the breakdown of the percentages within that 90%. You'll notice the first two, so that's executive summary, concept, value proposition, objectives, and then the business environment analysis are 10% each. They're the lead-ins, they're the things that set the foundations. And that's also been checked in part one, so this is a refined version, so there's not a huge percentage for those. But then when we move on to the marketing, research and the SWOT analysis, the marketing plan, and the funding and financial planning, you'll notice that's where the bulk of the marks are. And it's really important that you're clear about this from the beginning. That doesn't mean that you rush or don't do a particularly good job of the first two, but it does mean that the core marks are in the most important areas for the intended learning outcomes. Let's look at the word limits. I've given you a lot of guidance on roughly how many words minimum and maximum to include in each section, and that's from experience, because this assignment and all the materials I use have evolved each year over the past 6 years or so. So I know it can be done in those word lengths, so try and keep to them. In particular, you'll notice that the business model canvas gets an allowance in the word limit, and your financial Excel spreadsheet at the end gets another allowance of 1,000 words. This way, we're not expecting too much of you, and it fits within the guidance for assessments at the university. The rest of the formal assignment brief, which is the thing that you must go by as a reference, will outline how it fits with the ILOs, and also there's some guidance there on what sort of support you'll get. And you know from other videos that in the teaching scheme I've built in these days where people will come in and work with you to help refine what you're doing beyond the help that I'll give you. And then all I can really say at the end of the day is good luck with your assignment, because you're all very smart people and I know you'll all do really, really well.